Hip like a cowboy, I'm a king, you should bow. Niggas who you wear like a shit, get a back door. Swap in the corner like a bum with a back door. I'ma leave like this. Won't keep on stopping at this bitch off the hand. Got this bitch, got this drip, about to get this bitch with the soap. It ain't rap, it's the soap. They say they want to hit it roast. These niggas claiming that they boss. These niggas better move it close. If they make a wrong, move it close. Feeling like a legend in this shit, little nigga, I'm past veteran. Never been a third, little nigga, I'm past second. Guns, I gotta have them all like ass catcher. Shotty break the nigga ribs, look like Spike Plus. We all steppin', kill you with kindness cause I'm dead nice. That 5'7", but you 6 feet, I'm talking height. That killer's giving out spots, what you doing like? These hands are root GPS. That's me, right? We feel different, you know the vibes. Everything that all finished, we know the rhymes. I keep a 144 because I know the kind. Know it's hard, you know I'm with animals when we flow and rhyme. We back again, no cap, when I'm with cap again. Yeah, they said they want smoke, and so we matching them. Everything righteous, so you know when we get back at them, you can hit up with a K, but no acronym. They say they want to hit it rough. They niggas claiming that they boss. Can't nobody stop me. These niggas got me. So watch your mouth, boy. Come at all black, slither in the house, coming out, boy. I'm off the hip like a cowboy. I'm a king, you should bow, boy. Hard like that, baby. I'ma leave like this. Won't keep on stopping at this bitch off the hand. Got this bitch, got this drip, about to get this bitch with the soap. It ain't rap, it's the soap. Ain't takes a bitch, listen with the coast. They say they want to hit it roast. These niggas claiming that they boss. These niggas better move it close. If they make a wrong, move it close.
Yeah, Shalom Israel.
Yeah, Shalom.
We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander GEN.YAHANNA. We've been teaching the truth about the Bible since 1969, that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the lowest 12 tribes of the nation of Israel.
That's right.
All right. Before we get into the class, all right, we want to say Salakia, all right, for the late start of the class, right? We had some technical difficulties due to the weather, right? We had terrible weather down in South Trinidad, right? But nevertheless, right, we're gonna get on with the class, right?
Right.
Before I start the class, I'll just run through quickly, right, the schedules of the class locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, for I.S.U.P.K, right, on a Monday, we have the Monday night history class with Priest and Officer Makako Bal, right? We have the Brotherhood class, right, with Priest and Officer Bariat, right? We have the Wednesday night law class with Priest and Officer Matt Kwayat. We have the Lashawan Kwadash, right? Which is on a Friday because we do not have any classes locally here in Trinidad, right? From time to time, we do stream the class straight out of Harlem, New York with 12 Shield GEN.YAHANNA on a Thursday, right? But we do not have any classes locally here in Trinidad. On a Friday, we have the Lashawan Kwadash, right? With Priest and Officer Yakad, right? This is the Hebrew class where we learn to read, write, and speak Hebrew, right? We on a Saturday we have the Sabbath service, right, which is done by Priest and Officer Yakad, right, and Priest and Officer Sawapiala, right. On a Sunday, which is today, right, we have the Scripture breakdown class. This class is usually done by Priest and Officer Galawan. Priest and Officer Galawan is the head of the Trinidad and Tobago camp locally here in Trinidad, right, and he usually does this class, right. But I am Priest and Officer Maikwa. I'll be holding on the class today, right? All these classes, right, run from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., right, with the exception of the Sabbath service and today's class, right, which usually starts, right, at 12. We get a late start today because of the inclement weather, all right? But all these classes run all through the week, all right? So you can tune into the I.S.U.P.K Trinidad platform, all right? Just type in I.S.U.P.K Trinidad and Tobago on the YouTube, on the Facebook platform, right? In fact, you can type in I.S.U.P.K Trinidad and Tobago on all the other platforms as well, which is the Twitter and the Instagram, right? And we also on Clubhouse as well, right? From time to time. All right. So these are the social media platforms for I.S.U.P.K locally here in Trinidad, right? It also has the I.S.U.P.K international classes as well. We have classes in the UK, in Jamaica, in Puerto Rico, right? And all different states in the United States of America, right? And also straight out of Harlem, New York, right? Which is the I.S.U.P.K headquarters, right? And also we have, you can see the leader of the nation of Israel, which is Commanding GEN.YAHANNA. He's in charge, right, of the I.S.U.P.K, right? He's the commanding general, the leader of the nation at this time, and he also has a channel called Black Watch News, right, which is the news, right, for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, right? You can tune in, right, and all the big topics that going on in the world today, you can tune in, right, and get the I.S.U.P.K's perspective, right, on these views and what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man should be doing, right, at this time, right, as it concerns the issues of the world and the Bible, right, which is the history and records of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, right, on the earth today, right? So we're gonna get straight into the class, right? As the topic says, we're gonna talk about, right, the chariots of the Most High, right? Because a lot of videos are now surfacing, right? Government agencies started to admit, right, that and talk about UFOs, right, which they call unidentified flying objects.
That's right.
Right? Objects that they cannot identify, right? They cannot pinpoint and say what it is. Right? Here in the I.S.U.P.K, we call it IFOs, right? Identified flying objects, because we actually know what these objects are, right? And we know what these objects are because of the records of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, which is written in the scriptures, right? Because from thousands of years ago, our forefathers already knew, right? And already encountered these objects, right? Straight from the Most High power. Right now, not every single object will be a child of the Most High, right? You have all kind of technology, right, that the so-called white man trying to come up with to combat, right, the things that he is facing out there in what we just call space, right, or in high air space where the common man would not be able to see, right? So some of these objects are their technology that they're trying to compete with, right, to battle the things of the Most High, but we all know they cannot battle with the things of the Most High. Right? The Most High and His power and His wisdom, understand, created us here on the earth, right, and gave us various technologies that we have now become accustomed to. All right? But understand, let us not think for 1 second that the Most High behind in technology, right? The Most High is who created us, right? The fan can be greater than the man who created the fan. right? He will always be one step ahead, or millions and light years away, a step ahead are all these technologies, right? And one of these technologies of the Most High is what the Bible calls chariots, right? What we know as UFOs, right? So we're going to talk about it a little more and understand, right, what these UFOs are, right? And a lot of sightings are happening in the world today, and that is because we are in the last days of the this wicked empire called Babylon the Great, right? Or what we know today as America, all right? So we're gonna get a little more into it, and a lot of and a lot of the movies today, right, that talk about chariots and why the government agencies now coming out with it, right? They always give you the perspective like these things is the enemy. So they're already priming the mass population to understand that if you see anything strange in the sky, it is the enemy. All right, and a lot of people, when the Most High come back, right, with his millions of angels, right, to deliver the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man on the earth, right, we will be going to be think that these things is our enemy, and a lot of our people and people in the nation is going to be trying to fight back, right, against these things, and obviously they are going to be destroyed. Right, and that is why we tell people to come into the I.S.U.P.K under command in GEN.YAHANNA, because now you will gain the understanding. And understand, and now you wouldn't be running with the mass every whim or every fancy the mass population. You would be able to understand what is actually happening in the world, right? And it would be able to be guided by the priests and prophets of the Lord on where to go and what to do and how you should be, right? As a Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, all right? So we're gonna get into the first scripture, right? So the first scripture I will take from it is Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. All right?
Come on.
And we go start from the book.
The book of Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you,
right? So the
by
Bible,
any means.
So the Bible or the scriptures say, let no man deceive you by any means, right? Meaning that why the scripture telling us? Because a lot of things that we're learning from the so-called white man today is lies. And that's where I come from, right? Things in the scriptures telling us that the angels white, the Christ white, right? This image that they have of Caesar Borgia,
right?
And that's where I come from, right? That everybody has in their house hung up over the door. And I found just recently, I think it was a couple of days ago, right? I drive into a neighborhood and Towada, right? And this is just the image here that a lot of people usually sees, right? Right? This is the image that a lot of people have in their house, right? Thinking this is Jesus Christ, right? Right? Who we know as Yahweh Shai in Hebrew, right? But if you notice, what the image is it mark imposter, right? Because this is the image of an imposter, right? This is not what Christ actually looks like in the Bible. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 13 to 15, explain what Yahweh Shai looks like. All right, and he's a black man from the tribe of Judah. All right, and he's the king, right, of the nation of Israel, right, and he's going to come and redeem his people, right? The Bible says he's going to come, he's gonna come through the cloud with 200 million angels, and we're going to read that lower down as we go down in the class, right? Right, and so it says, let no man deceive us, right? Because a lot of lies going on in the world, right? Most times when they associate the UFOs, right, or chariots as we know them in the Bible, they always put in green men with big eyes and 3 fingers, right? Calling them ET and all these different things, right? And none of that, all that is rubbish, right? Right? The angels and the Lord is like men. Right, that the likeness of men, and we'll go a little bit into that as well.
Right.
All right, continue, Baba Kusha.
For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first.
Go ahead.
And that the man of sin be revealed.
Right, and until the man of sin be revealed, like the so-called white man, right, who has betrayed this world for a couple hundred or thousands of years. Well, and that's where I come from, right? Totally erasing the identity of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man today, right? And coming up with all kind of wicked technology, and I stand to keep the oppression, right, on the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, especially, and even all the nations, forcing them to come in collusion with him, right? And making sure that we keep the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man in complete subjection and in sin, right? Because the more we remain in sin, the more we take longer to be delivered, right? Out from this oppression, right? And the so-called white man, right? He is the deceiver, the whole world, right? Continue, Baba. That was the end, right?
Just one repeat, like I said, the son of perdition.
The son of perdition, right? That deceiver, right? From there, we jump jump to Romans chapter 1 and verse 25, Baba Kusha.
Right, come. I'm still here. Romans 1 and
25.
The book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 25. Who changed the truth of the Most High into a lie.
Right, still talking about the so-called white man today. That's what the white man do, right? He changed the truth of God into a lie. And that's where I come from, right? When you look at all the pastors that go to these different theology schools, nobody is focusing, right, on explaining to people what is going to happen to them in the last days, how they should be able to change their life, how they should stop smoking weed, stop committing adultery. Nobody focusing on that. Everybody focusing on what the prosperity doctrine. And that's where I come from, and how much money you put in the collection bucket, right? And laying hands, right, on stuff. And understand to receive it in the name of Jesus. All these foolishness, right? Everything preaching now is about wealth and materialism. The man has become carnal today. All right. When they talk about the vaccine, everybody's scared about the vaccine, right? But the TV, you're bringing in your house, recording it, right? And I stand recording your voice and video, right? Until that they had us to turn back. People run and give back the TV when they realize what the TV actually doing, right? All right. So the same technology that already have phones that we work all about with GPS tracking us, all about, and people talking about being tracked with the vaccine and different kind of things, and they know the same technology that they have in your house every day, right? As the things that put in yourself even in your own prison. You understand where I'm coming from, right? And the things that we should be concerned about, these are the things that we more scared about. You understand where I'm from? So the media has caused the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man mind to be twisted, right? Opposite, right? And that is why in the I.S.U.P.K we have the Black Watch News, so you can tune in and get a proper perspective and a proper understanding on what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man supposed to be studying, what his focus supposed to be on, right? And how he's supposed to care about himself on the face of the earth, all right? And you're going to get a better understanding about who the Messiah is, because all the Christian church is totally ignorant about who the Messiah really is, all right? It had more on the go ahead, continue.
And worship and serve the creature more than the creator.
That's right. Go ahead, continue.
Who is blessed forever. Amen.
And that's what happening today. We worship the creature more than the creator.
Right.
And understand, we worship man. And understand, more than we worship the Most High, the Most High power. And understand where I come from, right? Yes, we have men who are the priest and prophet of the Lord and the leader of the nation, right? But our worship is supposed to be to the Most High God, the power, right? Through King GEN.YAHANNA under command in GEN.YAHANNA and the I.S.U.P.K, right? The I.S.U.P.K is that vehicle, and understand that will teach you to be a righteous man on the face of the earth, all right? All right, so your whole Matthew chapter 24 and verse 30 from Baba Kusha, right? And we will just play a little video.
Let's go 24 and
yeah, Matthew 24 and verse 30.
Come on.
Let's see if I can catch up with you.
You want this after the video or before?
After. Come on, Tawada. Right? And this is our video. Now, this is our video that the United States now form a space force, right? I think it's back in they started talking about that somewhere in 2016, somewhere up there, and then under Donald Trump they implement the Space Force, right? And this is an ad for the Space Force, and this is to show the arrogance and the pride of the white man, right? Because the white man feel he is the Messiah, right? Right? This is an ad, right, for the Space Force to recruit people into the Space Force military.
Right.
Right?
This is essential not only to our way of life, it's absolutely critical to the modern way of war. GPS, ATMs, cell phones, gas pumps, traffic lights, power grids, guided missiles, surveillance, RPAs, ground combat control. There's no such thing as a day without space operations. You just don't see them. Earth is only half the battle. Cyber attacks and jamming of our satellites, microsatellites that can create a debris field. At 17,000 miles an hour, a piece of metal the size of a coin can be weaponized. On space, a military branch that protects the hopes and dreams of America and our way of life as the space domain becomes more and more contested. It's time for another giant leap. The United States Space Force is being built from the brightest minds across the space operations of the Air Force, our joint services, and the private sector. We aren't just getting ready for the near future, we're getting ready for the 22nd century. When our enemies ask, what if, we will have an answer. When foreign powers can build bases on the dark side of the moon, when private companies are inventing a new economy beyond our planet, we need to stay one step ahead of the future. The future is where we'll make history. We will fight in an environment with no up or down, no left or right, where there are no borders and nowhere to hide. Our Space Force is defending our country, here on Earth and wherever our mission takes us. As commerce and exploration expand, we will imagine the unimaginable, anticipate the inconceivable, and prepare for the impossible. We won't just think outside the box, we'll think outside the atmosphere, in one of the most challenging environments ever known.
Right, and that is basically how they run the ad, right? And it's about a lot of things, right? Showing you how the white man pride going up, totally going up, and he believe he is God, right? And one of the whole things in the whole ad, right? When they run the ad is only for America. They don't care about the rest of the world. That the dream, and understand? Babylon the Great ruling the world. You understand where I'm from? And that's showing you the arrogance of the white man. He setting himself as God on the face of the earth.
That's right. So like I said, if I may, you believe I watching the video right here, the same point I'm going to bring to really show that mystery Babylon is actually America.
That's right.
Because that is where all the efforts is to protect as they're just bringing out the hopes and the dreams of America.
That's right.
You know,
you understand? Right?
Not the world.
Not the world. They don't care about nobody else. You understand where I'm from? Them just want to make sure that they remain on top. Understand? And everybody remain below. They want to be the God of the earth, right? And the scriptures talk about that, right? And Salakia, just now,
Yeah, come on.
Before I jump there, I just wanna jump to our next scripture before I go to that one, right?
Come on.
I'll go tell you.
Okay, come on.
Right, give me Obadiah 1 and 4, Baba Kusha.
Come on. The book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle.
Right, and I say, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, we know the eagle to be Babylon, the great symbol, right? That the white man symbol. All different territories and countries, the white man trod, he always had this symbol of the eagle, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down.
The most I say, do thou set the nest in the stars of heaven above, right? He say he will bring them down. Go ahead.
Saith the Most High.
And this was signed and signified to the prophet by the Lord. You understand where I'm from? He say he go bring them down from the stars.
Right.
You understand where I'm from? And if you look at it, right? Today in 2021, the white man looking to fully establish himself, right? And set his nest in the stars. And understand he already had equipment there, but now he's looking to fully establish himself, right? And that is why, right, these are the things that make we know we're living in the last days, because these things were written by the prophet, right? Thousands of years back.
Right.
And look, we living to see it come to pass today. Understand where I'm from, right?
Our joint services and the private sector. We aren't just getting ready for the near future, we're getting ready for the 22nd century. When our enemies ask, what if, we will have an answer.
Right? And say when the enemies ask what if, them want to always have the answer. You understand? So they want to be what God. You understand where I'm from? They want to be the last point at any negotiation from. Them must be the heavy hand, the heavy hammer. You understand? The judge who does have the last say.
Right.
You understand? So basically they want to be the ruler of the earth, right?
When foreign powers can build bases on the dark side of the moon.
Right? And in the ad, right, the making note, right? When the other foreign forces, the other nations putting bases on the dark side of the moon, so it's showing the battle already going on. I understand for space as we know it, right? It's showing the war don't start, but the war starting this is exactly just how the general predicted. The war starting among themselves, and then soon they realize they have a more high and a higher power beyond them, and now they've got to turn and fight against this power.
Right.
All right.
When private companies are inventing a new economy beyond our planet, we need to stay one step ahead of the future. The future is where we'll make history. We will fight in an environment with no up or down, no left or right, where there are no borders and nowhere to hide. Our Space Force is defending our country here on Earth and wherever our mission takes us. As commerce and exploration expand, we will imagine the unimaginable, anticipate the inconceivable, prepare for the impossible. We won't just think outside the box. We'll think outside the atmosphere.
Right. And I say they want to think, right? And I want to think inside the box alone. They don't want to think outside the atmosphere.
Right.
You understand where I'm from, right? So they're looking for total dominance. So you can jump back. You will jump back. I'm going back the scripture for you. You can jump back to Matthew 24 and verse 30, Baba Kasha. Right. So them looking for dominance on the earth, right? So we're going to talk about the Most High chariot, and then we will come back to our next video again.
Right. The book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Right. So then the Son of Man is Christ, right? And this is the return of Christ. Continue.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
What shall all the tribes of the earth do?
Mourn.
Go ahead.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
That's right. And when I talk about clouds, I'm talking about a rainy cloud. And that's where I'm coming from, or some bad weather. Right? These clouds talking about chariots.
Right.
And understand the chariots are the Most High. Right? Christ is going to come back with the chariots of the Most High to do what? To bring judgment on the face of the earth.
Right.
You understand where I'm coming from? So a lot of people building hope and these and these advertisements, right? And these things that are saying, and when I look, sometimes when I look in the comments and I watch all the people commenting, they say I see great hope for the future.
Right.
No, and as I come from this hope or this salvation that coming in the future is for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man.
Right.
That is what I'm not telling the world. And I stand the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man going to be back in rulership again. The Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man is going to have his rightful place in the earth.
Right.
Understand? Right? I'm just paraphrasing, right? But the scripture in the I think it's in the Apocrypha say that he made the earth for our sakes. Right? He made the earth for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man's sake. And it's an amazing thing, right? Because while a lot of people don't even consider, right? Because the Most High still kept us as a thought. Understand? He still worries about us, even though you have different dimensions. Host of angels, you understand? A whole let's call it a whole group of board members.
Right.
You understand where I'm coming from? Right? The Most High have a lot to deal with. right? And still, the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, he kept in his thought. That is show how much the mercy and love the Most High have for us.
Right.
You understand where I come from? Right? And for the other nations, well, he count them as a drop in the bucket. You understand? Right? And that's what a lot of people do even understand. Right? And how special, right? And what a royal and a holy people the Most High made us to be on the face of the earth. Right? From there, you go whole Luke before I go to Luke, right?
Right.
Whole Luke 9 and 33, right? And I will play this next one and then we'll continue.
Luke 9 and verse 33.
And verse 33, yeah. Right? And this here, this is just a clip, right? Because a lot of things when we see in movies, right? They try to depict things in the Bible are the best as they can break it down, right? Because these are not the priests and prophets of the Lord, right? And just how the scripture talk about the chariots coming through the cloud, right? They just try to depict these things in movies, right? And it wouldn't be like this. It's obviously going to be more glorious and more spectacular and more deadly, you understand, and more terrifying. You understand, right? But they try to depict the things that they're seeing and try to bring it to the screen, right? And they try to put it in movies. And this is just a small clipping, right? This was a clipping from the Independence Day movie, right? When the chariot was arriving, right, in this movie, and they take the exact same description from the previous scripture where we taken when they say the chariot was coming through the cloud, right? And of course, before I should say, of course, people are going to be much more terrified than this.
Right.
This is the scripture says this is going to be a dark day.
That's
right? And the Christian church like to preach that we will be holding hands and singing songs, and angels will be playing harps, right? All them things is fantasy, right? Right? And this is a depiction that the description that they try to bring, right? With the chariots coming through the clouds, right? But of course, it wouldn't be one chariot, it will be 200 million.
That's right.
Understand? Right? So that's the image they try to give there, right? With the chariot coming through the cloud with fire. And with our next scripture, we go read lower down, right? And also give me the same description, right? So we go jump back to the scripture and you'll give me the Luke chapter 9.
Yeah. They will come Luke chapter 9 and verse 33. And then it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Yahushua, Master, it is good for us, Salakia, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles,
right,
one for thee.
And this was Salakia, right? Go back up to, give me from verse 32, Baba Kasha.
The book of Luke chapter 9 and verse 32. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep. And when they were awake,
right? So they were tired, right? But when they're awake, go ahead.
They saw his glory.
They saw Christ looking different, right? Yahushua was looking different, right? Continue.
And the 2 men that stood with him,
right? And 2 men stood with him, right? This was Moses and Elias, right? Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as they were departed from him, Peter said unto Yahushua, Master, it is good for us to be here.
Right? Go ahead.
And let us make 3 tabernacles.
Right, because that was that was the culture of Israel at back at that time, right? We used to make memorials, right, to mark certain places when certain events happen. Just like we used to build altars and make big hewn of stones, right, in different places. So if we cross this river at a specific time, right, and it was a major event, we would put an altar there. So every time somebody passed, even though it was a long time after, they will always remember, right, when the children of Israel crossed the Jordan, or this miracle took place here, or this is where Jacob wrestled the angel. They're always making this memorial. So they wanted to build 3 tabernacles for Moses, right? Elijah, who referred to here as Elias, right? That's Elijah and Christ, right? Continue.
And let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses,
right,
and one for Elias.
That's right.
Not knowing what he said.
Right, he's not studying what he's saying, right? Continue.
While he thus spake, there came a cloud.
Right, and see when I say there came a cloud, this was what? A chariot.
Right.
Same thing, coming in the clouds. When you talk about clouds or whirlwinds, all this is talking about chariots, right? At the most, I'm not talking about just raw cloud. Continue.
And overshadowed them.
Right, and with the cloud do?
Overshadowed them.
Continue.
And they were and they feared as they entered into the cloud.
As they did what?
As they entered into the cloud.
Right, and a lot of people think, well, they're just walking smoke. Right, but that is not true. You understand? These women do not enter into a chariot. You understand? And they were so amazed. They said, nah, we had to make this day a memorial because that was unbelievable.
Right.
It's something that they couldn't believe. Right? What they seen with their eyes. Right? Continue, Babakasha.
Verse 35. Whilst he thus spake, there came verse 35. And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved son. Hear him.
That's right. And as I continue, Babakasha.
Verse 36. And when the voice was past, Yahweh was found alone, and they kept it close, and told no man in those days any of these things which they had seen.
Right, so they keep it close, right? Because they never tell nobody at that specific time. They never tell nobody about that, right? Because that was a unbelievable experience that they saw. And that's where I come from, right? Something that was beyond them. They wasn't expecting to see that. That was something out of this world. You understand, right? As we go put it, all right? But they understood that these crowds, right, was not just air. And as I come from, these were actual chariots of the Most High, right? But they're given the description of what they're seeing. Right. And as I come from, other scriptures, when we go lower down, we'll talk about the fire and the color and different colors they would be seeing. You understand? These the technology way beyond man. And understand the technology of the Most High power. All right? You're given Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 16, Babakasha.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 1 and verse 16. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of beryl.
Right? So it's like the appearance of the wheels and the work. So when they look up in the sky, right, they see things like wheels, right, in the sky, right, and the color, right, or the type of fire that they come out, or fires coming out the bottom, and how it looking was like beryl. Beryl is like a green, you know, certain type of fire, right? According to what fueling with, right? It would give off this type of green, or sometimes give out an amberish color, right? And we're going to hear about these 2 colors that these things given out, right? So this year they say it was the appearance of beryl, right? There's a greenish color. Continue, Babakusha.
And they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel.
Right, and it formed one likeness, and it was like it was a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So now what they see like a wheel turning inside a wheel, right? This was something that they never see, and as long as something that was not commonly found in their environment.
Right.
And these these four vehicles, right? These four was the same, but a lot of different times in the scriptures, have a lot of different type of chariots, right? So a lot of people don't understand it have different shape, right? Size, different chariots, right? Just like we have different shape of cars and trucks and wherever. Today, the same thing with the Most High chariots, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 17. When they went upon their four sides.
Right, so they went upon the four sides, right? Right, it could go right, left, up, down, any side, right? Continue.
And they turned not when they went.
Right, and they never turned when they went. They didn't have to physically turn around, and it's not like, oh, we had a park and reverse, right? And then turn the wheels to go in the next direction. These could go any side at any time, up or down, right? Continue. That was the end of that, verse 17.
Yeah,
right. I want to go too far down because a lot of different descriptions, right? From there, jump and get again, man. Zechariah 1 and verse 5 and verse 1, Baba Kusha.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 5 and verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll.
A flying what?
A flying roll.
Right, so they see this flying circle in the sky, right? A roll. Continue.
Verse 2. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits.
The length thereof is 20 cubits, go ahead.
And the breadth thereof is 10 cubits.
Right, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits, right? A cubit is, well, in ancient times, they used to use the elbow to the tip of the finger, right? And that is about 1.5 feet, right? If you break it down into feet, right? So 20 cubits in length will be 30 feet, and when we say how much wide, it was 10 feet, 10 wide.
20 cubits, Salakia. The length thereof is 20 cubits.
That's
and
right.
The breadth thereof is 10 cubits.
Right, and the breadth is 10 cubits, right? The width will be 15 feet, right? So when an easy way to picture that is like a yacht. Picture a yacht 30 by 15. That's a hell of a big yacht.
Right.
And that's where I come from, right? And it didn't talk about there is length and breadth. It didn't talk about the height.
Right.
Right, but that's the description they're given. And it had different sizes of chariots, right? And the four of them, right? And Ezekiel it had 4 of these. This year, well, he's seeing 1, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 3. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth.
Right, and I said, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. This is the punishment. This is the judgment of the Most High. Right, when you see all of a sudden a whole place that are burned down and nobody know the fire start, that is how it is. A whirlwind. The scripture talk about the chariots coming as a whirlwind. Right, a lot of people see tornadoes lick down a whole area. Right, all these things start. And understand from when the Most High sent out his angels to do to pass judgment on the face of the earth.
Right.
And understand when you look at 100,000 in the Indonesian dead, all of a sudden, right? These things that the Most High sent out the angels to do on the face of the earth. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as this side according to it. And everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on the side according to it.
That's right. And understand, so all them evil bastards and who lying in the name of the Lord, understand, lying against the truth, right? And trying to hide the truth, all these evil bastards, he will destroy them.
Right.
Understand? Right. The Most High will bring what judgment or that cursing upon them. Understand, right? And when you see a child pull up, no destruction coming. And that's where I come from, right? And know the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. That's why we need to get ourselves in order. And that's where I come from. So we now could be what? Righteous in the sight of the Most High.
Right.
And just like how Yahushua and Peter then entered the chariot, we too could enter the chariot. And understand? Because we will be what? On the side of the Most High. We'll be upright and righteous people on the face of the earth, right? Jump to Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15, Baba Kusha.
The book of Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. For behold, the Most High will come with fire.
He will come with what?
With fire.
With what?
With fire.
That's right. And a lot of people say the Most High coming in peace. and understand, and he coming to save the whole world and togetherness. No,
Right.
that's not in the scriptures. Understand?
Right.
Yeah, the scriptures say the Most High coming with fire. Continue.
And with his chariots.
And with his what?
With his chariots.
That's right. And he coming with the chariots. You understand? The chariots are the Most High. That is what he coming with. Continue, Babakisha. With his
like Salakia, like a whirlwind.
Like a what?
Like a whirlwind.
And he bringing destruction. And understand, upon all them evildoers on the face of the earth. And understand, upon the empire of Babylon the Great. Just how we watching them with the Space Force. That's why he say he will bring what? He will bring the nest down from amongst the stars.
Right.
And understand, so everything that I seen up there, eventually he will bring it down. And understand, them will be totally destroyed.
Right.
Right? Continue, Babakasha.
To render his anger with fury. And his rebuke with flames of fire.
That's right. Understand? So total destruction for this empire of Babylon the Great. And all who drinking from that wine. Understand? All who sipping from that cup. All who in a tumult of in collusion with the white man today, and will be brought down to the dust.
Right.
They will be brought down very, very, very low. Until we wouldn't even recognize who was the white man.
That's right.
We wouldn't even know about this empire. Understand? This empire will become a myth. You understand? You wouldn't even know if it's true or not. You understand? Right? And that is the destruction that the so-called white man going to face.
That's right.
All right. And this is another video here from the same from the Space Force, right? And this is what happened. And I like to show you these countries, and understand, going to war against one another in the skies, because there are everybody fighting for outer space.
Right.
And understand, everybody fighting for dominance. Everybody, just as we read in the scripture before, everybody wants to be God. And understand, but according to the scriptures, there's only one God, right? And that is the Most High power, the power of Israel. Understand? And he set the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man to be rulers, judges, priests, and kings on the face of the earth. That is what he set us here for, right? The earth was made for our sakes, right? And the Most High soon, right, will come to deliver the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, and the empire of Babylon the Great will have to answer. And understand, for the crimes that they commit against humanity.
That's right.
Right?
CNN rare access to its Mission Control Center. Our Chief National Security Correspondent, Jim Shudo, has an exclusive look inside.
Inside Mission Control at Buckley Space Force Base in Aurora, Colorado, Space Force Guardians fly the nation's missile warning satellites. Using infrared sensors, these satellites, orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth, scour the planet 24/7 for missile launches and nuclear detonations.
We never always vigilant and we never fail, because that's how important this mission is to our nation. We provide decision quality data to tactical warfighters on the ground to save their lives.
This satellite dish is in touch with missile warning satellites deployed in what's known as geosynchronous orbit. If those warning satellites detect a launch anywhere on the surface of the planet, it beams that information back down to this ground station instantaneously at the speed of light. And then Space Force sends that information, that warning, around the world to U.S. forces deployed abroad or here.
Right, so the making sure the satellites and monitoring everything that goes on the face of the earth, right? And as soon as other nations launch missiles or anything against any territory against the United States, right? They're able to detect it, and then the other ground troops either shoot it down, right, or go and deal with the threat on the ground, right? So them like God in the sky, you know, they like to have the all-seeing eye on the money. Right. That is the goal, that's the ultimate goal, right? To be God on the face of the earth, right?
In January 2020, these satellites sprang into action, detecting multiple missiles from Iran, targeting the I.S.U.P.K air base in Iraq. Before those missiles rained down, within minutes, Space Force had delivered a life-saving warning to U.S. units on the ground. Space Force Specialist Sally Stevens was on duty.
It is lightning fast.
Right, and quick enough for them to take action to protect themselves.
Absolutely, especially in the ISAT night. Not very often do we get reminded of where our data gets to, and that night was a shocking reality.
Missile warning satellites are just a fraction of the hundreds of U.S. government and commercial satellites monitored and defended by the guardians of the Space Force today. Defended because U.S. adversaries led by Russia and China have deployed weapons to disable or destroy them.
Right, so the other nations now, that way the war going on. So why is men living on the earth and they're keeping them busy with the next iPhone 6, right? And the next Ray-Ban glasses and the Gucci and the Prada. Why is that going on the earth? Them fighting war in space, right? To see who will rule the airspace over the earth. All right.
Space is a warfighting domain. It's the reason that we stood up the United States Space Force as a separate service. So each and every day, we're training our operators to deter conflict, but if deterrence fails, to compete and win in space.
The U.S. has far more satellites than any other nation, some 2,500 compared to 431 for China and 168 for Russia.
Right, and it's showing you how much satellites they have compared, right? And these are normal satellites. These not satellites for television, and these is for war. That's right. You understand? These are to monitor everybody. And this is the next thing, right? And when people quarreling about the COVID-19 vaccine, how you go track me? No. You understand? Them are millions of satellites done spying all in the bathroom. You understand? Right? These countries already equipped. You understand? With this technology to see if they could have dominance over the face of the earth.
2,500 compared to 431 for China and 168 for Russia. And a whole range of U.S. military technologies depend on them. Satellites help warships and aircraft navigate and communicate. Help smart bombs and guided missiles hit their targets.
Scope 1 business squares running at the ridge line.
Help warfighters monitor threats on land, sea, and in the air.
There's nothing we do as a joint force, whether it's humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, or combat, that isn't enabled by space.
More than many Americans realize, civilians on space. The nation's constellation of GPS satellites, flown by 2nd Space Operations Squadron at Schriever Space Force Base in Colorado Springs, is the backbone of multiple critical infrastructures.
The financial sectors rely on positioning and timing information for precise banking operations and transactions. A transportation sector for positioning and timing. Air, land, sea, and rail all rely on the global positioning system to be able to execute our critical infrastructure.
The danger for the U.S. is that greater dependence on space equals greater vulnerability to attacks in space. China is launching kidnapper satellites with grappling arms capable of plucking satellites out of orbit.
Right, so that is how the war going on. Right, you understand? So China deploy a satellite to kidnap United States satellite, right, and throw them out of the orbit then, so it throw them the reading on the ground, right? So the war done start already.
Russia is deploying kamikaze satellites capable of ramming and destroying U.S. space assets.
Russia doing the same thing.
And Russia now has a new space weapon that Space Force dubs the nesting dock.
Back in 2017, Russia launched a satellite, and it opened up, and another satellite came up. And then it opened up, and a projectile came out. That projectile is designed to kill U.S. satellites. So in 2019, they did the same thing, but this time they put it up next to one of our satellites. And then we started talking about it. We warned them away. We described what is safe and professional behavior, and it's important. Today, there's no
right, and it's how calm and nice he play down, right? He said that, in other words, he could just persuade them in what is professional. In other words, they totally destroy what they were trying to do, right? And sometimes on the earth, that's why when we were looking at politics, we will see the whole embargo on specific countries, right? Because of things that happening beyond where the average man would be able to see, right?
Rules in space. It's the wild, wild west.
As for the U.S. weaponizing, Space Force wants to avoid a space arms race.
Weapons are a last resort from the U.S. perspective. We would prefer the domain to remain free of conflict. But like in any other domain, like air, land, sea, and not space, we'll be ready to protect and defend.
Adversaries have already attempted to use space weapons to temporarily disable U.S. satellites. Space war is not science fiction, but a battle already underway.
Right? So these are the things that the so-called white man and Babylon the Great, right, is already doing. And understand, trying to proclaim or put up the self to be God. Right. And understand come from, right? Trying to establish himself in dominance over the face of the earth. right? And that is why that is why Christ had to come back and deliver we, because otherwise the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man will have no hope to fight back against this type of technology. You understand where I come from? We know how to pull on a higher power, right, to deliver us out of this this total madness. And understand that we see going on the face of the earth today.
Right.
You understand where I come from? Right? The average man could barely afford to pay rent. And much less fight against an entire nation's military. And Christ is going to come back. And understand with the armies of the Most High.
That's right.
And understand to set back things in total order on the face of the earth. All right.
That's what that was 6 verse Isaiah 66 and 50.
Yeah. Can you give me Ezekiel 1 and verse 4 about Kusha.
Can. The book of Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself.
Right, and that is the same thing we showed with the same clip with the Independence Day clip. That is what it looked like. This is what it looked like. Right, the same thing, a fire. Right, you see a fire enfolding in itself. All right, continue, Baba Kusha.
And a brightness was about it.
Right, same thing in the description. This is the same thing that they try to depict, right, in this movie. Right, same thing they try to depict. Understand? A bright fire coming out of the clouds, right, and it will be more terrible than this.
Right.
All right, continue, Baba Kusha.
And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber.
Right, and it was the color amber. Amber is like a bright, a reddish orange. Right, just how fire actually is.
Right.
Continue, Baba Kusha.
Out of the midst of the fire.
Out of the midst of the fire. Right, continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 5. Also, out of the midst thereof came the likeness of four living creatures.
Right, and these creatures came out of the UFO, the I.F.O. as we know it, or the Chariots of the Most High. Right, continue, Baba Kusha.
And this was the appearance. They had the likeness of a man.
The likeness of what?
Of a man.
Right, and these are things with Hollywood and the internet and all these nut communities, right, portraying ET and all these different alien and greys and whatever else they call them, right? None of that. All of that is rubbish. You understand? The angels of the Lord have what? The likeness of men.
That's right.
You understand? Come from the angels are the Lord are black men. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 6. And everyone had 4 faces.
And everyone had what?
4 faces.
And every one of them had 4 faces. Continue.
And everyone had 4 wings.
And there are 4 wings, right? A lot of the angels are the most like that different type of angels, right? That angels for healing, right? That angels for war,
right? That
different type of angels are the most high, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
7. And their feet were straight feet.
And their feet, no, Salakia.
Verse 7.
Yeah, continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 7. And their feet were straight feet.
And the feet was straight feet. When they say the feet was straight, that the feet just like a man, right? A man have a straight foot, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot.
Right, and the sole of the feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. It doesn't mean that a cow foot, right? Or some type of sheep foot or a goat foot or nothing like that, right? The shoes that I had on in the foot was like ninja shoes, so it split the toes.
That's right.
Right, so you know the big toe, and it actually had a shoe selling here, right? Where your big toe go in one slot and the rest of your toes go in the other, right? Just like our ninja shoes is. That would mean it was like a calf foot, meaning the foot was cloven foot. Right. So the big toe in one shoe and the other toes in the next section. Right. Just like a ninja shoes, right? And coming back to the 4 faces, right? The 4 faces is the 4 faces is the essence of the being, right? So actually there are 4 faces, but this is the essence of the being. So like a man telling you, like if a man telling you have 2 faces, right? He mean you show me one way and then you have another way that you do show me.
Yeah.
You understand where I come from? So you see that a man have 2 feet, or a man he have 2 tongue.
Right.
You understand where I come from? You have a snake tongue, meaning that he talk to me one way, but they really mean something else.
That's right.
You understand where I come from? So these when you say that our faces represent the essence of the being, right? And when I go down, they will show you the different characteristics, right? Are these 4 faces, right? Continue, Babakisha.
And they sparkle like the color, Salakia, and they sparkle like the color of burnished brass.
Right, and there was brown, there was black men, and I understand, but these black men they wasn't looking ashy.
Right.
Them was so fresh, they're well refined. And I understand, come from they dull and hungry looking. And I understand, these men was fresh, the sparkling, right, brand new. You know, like when a black man put on fresh, brand new garments, how he does look. You have a glowing appearance of it, right? Continue, Babakisha.
Verse 8. And they had the hands of a man under their wings.
Right, and they had the hands of a what?
Of a man under their wings.
Right, they have the hands of a man under the wings. You understand, right? And when it's the hands of a man, then it does not need to say the hands of a baby. So it's not Cupid, right? And all the picture of little baby angels, all them things is nonsense, right? Angels not like a man, right? Who born from the womb of a woman. We just born from the womb of a woman and grow up as a child, right? And then grow up into a man. Angel immediately, that is the way he make as a man. He born big then, right? As it's quite locally here in Trinidad, right? They're born big, right? Continue.
On Salakia, and they had the hands of a man under their wings, on their 4 sides.
That's right. Continue.
And they 4 had their faces and their wings.
Continue, right? So that the faces and the wings, right? That 4 wings, right? Continue, joining to one another. Continue.
Verse 9. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went.
Right, so they are turn around to go and fight in the direction. They're fighting in any side, right? Any side of the conducted battle, right? Continue.
They went everyone straight forward. Verse 10. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle.
Right, and these were the essence of the being. You understand? These were the exude. So a good example, I like that would be like I call that as nickname all them boxers. You know, they say these or Iron Mike Tyson, and understand, or Joe Louis the Brown bomber. Joe Louis is not an actual bomber. You understand? But the way how we battle, how we fight, you understand, that spirit within him, that is way he exude. You understand? When he drop them punch in here, swear some bomb drop on him. When Mike Tyson hit here, swear that piece of iron hit me away. I know, man. You understand? And these how these angels was, you understand? Because these were the most high war angels. Right? They are the battle axe on the field. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? So these are different personality that just like and I just paraphrase here with Lot. And understand, when the angels came to Lot, they came to destroy the city. Right? But when the came to him as a brother, as a man, everybody see them and understand and them men was so full with lust. Right? They wanted to actually rape the angel. Sad to say. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? Because why? They find the countenance was fake. You understand? But then when Lot and them leave the city, what happened? They totally a new side, they see a new face to these angels. You understand? They see a new side to them. This side is what? Destruction. You understand? This side is fire and brimstone. I never seen this side of this man before. You understand? I didn't know he could fight like this. You understand? And these what the angels them now begin to reign on Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? And that is the ability, right, that the Most High give these angels, right? Of course, the glory of a man is totally different. We could have children, we could raise a family. And as I come from, the angels can't do that. And as I come from, the man was made to be priests and kings of the earth. This is not the job of the angels, right? The earth was given for us, right? The angels didn't get that. You understand? So
Right.
every creature had his specific glory, what he could do. All right. That was the night.
Can. That was the end on verse, I believe it was 9.
Yeah, can. You go move on, right? Right. So these creatures traveling the chariots of the Most High, right? And I thought a lot of different type of chariots.
Right.
Some angels even come on horses, right? We will just do that one and then we will close off, right?
Right. Come on. Maccabees.
Yeah, Maccabees.
Right.
I will get for you. Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 3. We can read from verse 24.
Maccabees 2 and
Maccabees 2, chapter 3 and verse 24.
All right. Come on. Select. Right. Second Maccabees, right?
Yeah, second Maccabees
3 and 24.
Can.
Right. Can. The book of Second Maccabees, chapter 3 and verse 24. Now as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Most High of spirits and the Prince of all power.
Right, so this is the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go ahead.
Caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of the Most High.
Right, so the Most High caused an apparition, and this was a white Edomite. He was going to take the treasuries of the Lord at that specific time, right? And he was coming to steal the money in the treasuries, right? And the Most High immediately intervened in the situation, right? And caused a great apparition to come about all the men who stood there, right? This thing appear out of nowhere, right? Into the physical realm, right? Continue.
Fainted and was so afraid. Verse 25.
Right, so everybody get frightened when they see this apparition appear out of nowhere. Right, continue.
For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him.
A horse with a what?
A terrible rider upon him.
So a horse appeared out of nowhere. So this horse wasn't living on the earth all the time. And understand, the angel came with a horse.
Right.
And understand, and that is surely it's a creature we never even see. Right? Only in these Esau documentaries, right? Imagine in the year 2021, them now discover 20% of the ocean. Or some thousands of years. Man living on the face of the earth. So it's that things we never even fathom to see. Right? In the book of Job, Job say who could measure the earth? Right? Because the earth is so vast. It's that so much things that undiscovered.
Right.
And that's where I come from, right? So this horse appeared out of nowhere with an angel on it. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
With a terrible rider upon him.
Right, and he was looking what? Terrible, right? Continue.
Right, and adorned with a very fair covering.
Right, but this is the thing. Sometimes a lot of people feel you have to look beastly to be terrible. No, you understand where I'm from? That power that exuded when a true righteous priest and prophet or king or angel from the Lord come, that power that exuded with you know that man mean business.
That's right.
You know his seriousness.
Right.
You understand? Come from the scripture even say the Most High sitting on a throne of fire. You understand? It could be a beautiful thing to see, but yet still it could be terrifying.
Right.
You understand? Because your mind can't process that properly. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And was gone and adorned with a very fair covering, and he ran fiercely.
And he ran what?
And he ran fiercely.
And he ran fiercely, right? He ran with purpose. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And smote at Heliodorus.
Right? And smote at Heliodorus. This was the man who come to steal from the Lord's treasury. So the Lord personally sent the angel and understand against this man.
Right.
Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And smote at Heliodorus with his 4 feet.
Right? Continue.
And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold.
Complete harness of what?
Of gold.
That's right. And that is show how fly these angels is, how fly the Most is. Right? And that is show the black Hispanic and Native Indian man had to carry himself on the face of the earth.
Right.
glorious. You understand where I come from? Take pride. You don't want to be wealthy, but take pride in carrying about yourself decent as an upstanding man on the face of the earth, as a righteous priest and king. Right? And if you don't know how to do it, come into the I.S.U.P.K under command in GEN.YAHANNA. And here in the I.S.U.P.K, you will learn how to be an upright man. You will learn how to be a priest. You will learn how to be upright. You will learn how to be outstanding. And understand even the brothers and who went to Acuña, and fed our Levite brothers and sisters, the Haitians in Mexico. Watch how they're looking fly and outstanding. You know them as men and priests and prophets of the Lord. Understand? Right? The people of Haiti could actually see hope in these black men.
That's right.
Nowhere on the earth you would ever see that. Right? But in the I.S.U.P.K under command in GEN.YAHANNA. Right? These man, these were imagine, right? You would look at a man on Facebook or even at the home, and he will look like a man. You understand? But here, these men look like men sent from the Most High through prophets of the Lord. Right? And that is what the I.S.U.P.K under command in GEN.YAHANNA could do. You understand? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Verse 26. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him.
Right? And 2 more angels appeared. Right? And how they was looking? How they was looking? What kind of men? Old men?
Young men.
Feeble men.
Young men.
That's right. Young men. That is how these angels looking. The fresh. Right? Ready for battle. Continue.
Notable in strength.
Notable in what?
Notable in strength.
And there was notable in strength. You understand where I'm coming from? Just like when you read before in Ezekiel, the 4 faces. And the face of a lion and the face of an ox. The notable in what? Strength.
Notable in strength.
These men is not no weakling.
Right.
Men of power. You understand where I come from? Right? These are the ability that the Most High did them like super soldiers.
Right.
If we should put it that way, right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
Excellent in beauty.
Excellent in what?
Excellent in beauty.
And the fresh. And understand where I come from? You can't wear no bust up garment. Or like when we see on them Easter movies, right? That Christ in this little wrap up robe. That is not true. Imagine I was gambling over Christ's garment, right? When he died, you understand, right? Because they didn't want to imagine, they didn't want to tear it. Somebody had to get the whole thing.
Right.
You understand where I come from, right? The men and priests and prophets are the Lord. Right? Even the angels of the Lord kept themselves what? In comely attire.
Right.
Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And comely in apparel.
And what?
Comely in apparel.
That's right. And understand there wasn't hung up, there wasn't wearing clothes with holes in it. You understand where I'm from, right? This is the state that the white man bring. Right? The true priests and prophets of the Lord, right? Who don't know anything but that the Israelites who out in the world,
right?
And understand, that bring us to rags. You understand where I come from? Not knowing who we are, not knowing who we are, where's the identity, and understand where we come from, right? And believing that we are always what? Third class citizens,
right?
And understand we like to put us as third world countries or half of a man. Right? All these terms they used to use in slavery.
Right.
Right? They bring the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man down to nothing when we was royalty on the face of the earth. And I think the scripture, you read a little bit before up in the scripture, where you read what even the harness that he was holding the horse was made out of gold. You understand? And that show you how fresh, right? And how outstanding the Most High's kingdom is.
Right.
You understand? And imagine when the Lord's Spirit is playing as it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth. Imagine when the earth starts to look like that.
That's right.
That would be an amazing sight. Right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
That's right. Who stood by him on either side.
And stood by him on either side, right? So they stood on the side of the Edomite. They just appear. And when the Edomite look, he had 2 men standing on the side of him, which was angels, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And scourged him continually.
Right? And they begin to beat him. Right? Continually. Right? They begin to cuff him up all in the head, all in the face. Right? So he started to get serious beating. Continue.
And gave him many sore stripes.
And give him many sore stripes. And when I read lower down in the scripture, I'm going to explain how they beat him until he get unconscious. Right? And these are nice pieces scripture to read. Right? And it's straight. And he might be go down in the record as the first man to ever get a personal beating from the Most High.
Right.
Because the Most High personally sent them 2 angels. You understand? Because he decided to rob the treasury of the Lord.
Right.
Right? And this and all this is the power of the Most High. What we think the Most High is, because a lot of people believe and that is because of Christianity. That the Mosai is still in 60 AD or whenever, and understand, with old technology, tying up rope and putting things together. No, the Mosai is who made us, and if we could be this advanced and this technological, and we believe that we come into the pinnacle of society, no, the Mosai more advanced and that is more powerful, right? But the wrong people is in rulership on the earth today, right? And the Mosai is going to send back his chariots on the face of the earth and totally, right, shut down this empire that we know as Babylon the Great or America today. Right. And I just want to find one more scripture and then we'll close up, right? And that is the scripture with the 200,000 angels. Let's see if I find it. I think it's Revelation 9. Revelation chapter 9.
And 9 and 15 now, you go to see around 9 and 15. Not the one with Christ with 12 legion of angels, eh?
No.
You want to Revelation 9 and 15.
No, Slakia.
Which one?
$16.
The book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them.
Right, and this is who is going to be the angels, right? And the army of the Lord who's going to come back with Christ. 200,000, right? Which is 200 million. You understand? Angels will be returning with Christ in chariots, breaking the sky and setting back the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man in righteous order on the face of the earth. Right? And with that, we're going to close the class and go pass over to priest and officer Makakoba.
Yeah, no sound Christ. Yeah, these are the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They select it. So what? They are here to shed themselves on the wood. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which a brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. Means 10 in Hebrew and is pronounced ma'aisha. 10% of every penny of any increase the Most High gives you, give to the Treasury Department for teacher, priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation is the Feast of Dedication, the 25th day of the 9th month, Sunday, 28th of November, for 8 days. You can find this in the book of Maccabees, 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verses 52 to 61. Remind Apium and Akwatium to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirts, like pants, like headband, or scarf. And with that, we see our Mariam. Let's stand and face the east. God's spirit in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kwadash, Hayah, Shankar, Yahweh, Malakwat, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Natanlaw, Lakam, Ha, Yawam, Wasalaknaw, Kabawatnaw, Kasalaknaw, Kabawatwanaw, Wala'a, Tabanawa, Basawan, Abad, Al-Shaina, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wataparat, Walaileonia, Aman.
What he said in the English was, Our Father.
Our Father,
which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh, thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth,
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day.
Our daily bread.
Our daily bread.
And forgive us.
Our debts.
As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not.
And lead us not
into
temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
So be it.
So be it. All right, sir. Let's give the teacher one courtesy salute. Amadiam Shabbat. Amadiam. Barak. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Brakatah. Sir, let's give the sisters online a one courtesy salute. Sir. Amadiam Shabbat. Amadiam. Barak. Yahweh Shemal Atan Ba'Shem Yahushai. Yadil Matah. Class dismissed.